Hey folks, it's Ignited Coyote and Mrs. Coyote, and we're in Harlan, Kentucky, and that's the Harlan County Courthouse. In the Harlan County Courthouse, you'll find the Harlan Sheriff's Department, and we're going to tell you the story of an employee of that department who lost his life Easter weekend, 1976, in Lee County, Virginia, at the now defunct Cold Springs Market. It's a tragic story, but I think it's one that needs to be told. That was a bad weekend all the way around for Harlan County, as another man lost his life in a shooting in the Fairview community that left two other men critically injured. But we're going to tell you the story of Deputy Sheriff Wilson Mclain, who lost his life at the Cold Springs Market in Lee County, Virginia, the Saturday before Easter, April 17th, 1976. There isn't a lot at Cold Springs now. Certainly nothing to indicate Harlan County Deputy Sheriff was killed here in 1976 on Easter weekend. But this old picture, probably from sometime in the 60s, shows what it was very much like when the deputy was killed in 76. A lot of folks from Harlan County, especially those in the Kaywood, Crummies, and Cranks communities, enjoyed coming over here to the Cold Springs Market. Harlan, Kentucky Deputy Sheriff Wilson Mclain was off duty that day, Saturday, April 17th, 1976, and in the early afternoon he was at the Cold Springs Market when a man later identified as Frank Stevens walked up behind him, pulled the deputy's own gun from its holster, and shot him 5 times in the back, killing him. Frank Stevens was originally from the Smith community in Harlan County. He was on parole from Kentucky. He had relocated to the St. Charles community in Lee County, Virginia, and was living there at the time of the shooting. Why did he do it? You can only speculate at it. The two theories that the police went with at the time was he was wanted for questioning in connection with a robbery, and he thought perhaps the deputy was there looking for him. Also, he had 2 close family members who had been sent to prison for murder in 1975, and they thought perhaps he did it for vengeance. After the attack, Frank Stevens forced, and the information on this conflicts depending on your source, according to the Harlan Enterprise, he forced the owner of the Cold Springs Market. The Powell Valley News from Pennington Gap says he forced a clerk, which of course the owner could have been clerking at his own store, to drive him to the Kentucky-Virginia line. He got out and disappeared into the woods. A search ensued for him involving police agencies from both states till dark. There was a report of him being sighted in the Middle Creek area of Cranks Creek the next day, but I've not been able to find anything that confirms whether or not that was actually him that was sighted. At any rate, he showed up again Monday in Pennington Gap, where he got a taxi to take him to the Middlesboro Cumberland Gap area. A high-speed chase eventually followed this. At some point, about 2 miles outside of Jonesville, he forced the taxi driver out of the taxi and took over. During this chase, he ran 2 motorists off the road, a motorcyclist and a off-duty Virginia state trooper. About 10 miles west of Jonesville, he wrecked the taxi, exited it, firing at police officers who returned fire, killing him. Now, the information we use in this video was gathered from the Harlan Enterprise, the Powell Valley News, and Deputy Mclain's police officer memorial page. We're going to pin a link to a story from the Powell Valley News about the police chase and the death of Stevens in the comment section. We're going to pin it to the top of the comment section of this video so you can check that out. It's a pretty extensive story. Also, we got to mention that some of the information we found conflicted, like I mentioned earlier, from a newspaper to newspaper and source to source, as in Wilson Mclain's age. It went anywhere from 49 to the Harlan Enterprise, the mid-50s. We're going to go with the information from his police memorial page, which says Deputy Sheriff Wilson Mclain was 49 years old at the time of his death. He left behind 14 children and 15 grandchildren to missing. Now, folks, let's go back to Harlan, since we're on the road to Harlan, and see if we can track down where this brave man rests. And folks, we're on Crummies Mountain in Harlan County. And believe it or not, over here in these weeds, if you can see the headstones over there, there is a cemetery. Okay. And according to a family member of Deputy Mclain, this is his final resting place.
Yes.
And this is a pretty large cemetery, isn't it?
Yes, it goes down that way, back down that way.
Down this way, over here.
I've counted at least 7 headstones.
Yeah, and over to that pole. Yes. Now, my father-in-law is a person I've heard this story from for years. That's what made me decide to do this video. And he knows this pretty well. He knows this area pretty well.
Oh, yes.
And he said it's a big cemetery. Here's what's really sad. Is look at this little family cemetery next to that family cemetery. This one is in pretty much pristine condition. Yeah. It's kept up really well.
It's the same size about it.
Yeah, well, the other one may be a little bigger, mightn't it?
It may be, yeah.
But it's at least the same size.
It's older, but
yeah.
It's got some
it's got some modern headstones over there.
It's got several ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, not that very old.
But that one is just, we're going to have to see if we can reach out to somebody.
Absolutely going to see what can be done.
Yeah, see if we can get that cut up.
Anything like this. It's totally
especially
sad.
With one of Harlan County's past heroes of law enforcement over there.
This is very...
And for everybody over there deserves.
This is very wrong.
Yeah.
This is not right. This has got to be done.
And not just a deputy, but everybody over there deserves a resting place to be more respected and cleaned than that.
Yeah. To look like that.
Well, folks, that's the story of a particularly tragic Easter weekend in 1976 in Harlan County. And a tragic event that seems to me a lot of folks have forgotten. Because if it wasn't my father-in-law, I'd have knew nothing about this, and it was pretty hard to track
the story
information on this. Now remember, folks, the story of the suspect and what happened to him, Powell Valley News in Pennington Gap done a great story on that. And I'm pinning that to the top of the comment section and to the information section, and you click that link and it'll take you to the whole Powell Valley story of what happened to that suspect.
Smell those honeysuckle?
Yeah.
Say that?
Yeah, honeysuckle, yeah. And you're telling me that's Stone Mountain over there we're looking at from Crummies. Well, folks, from Crummies Mountain, looking at beautiful Stone Mountain in Harlan County, thank you so much for sticking with us and remembering this deputy, remembering a tragic Saturday in Harlan County history.
What a peaceful place to be.
And Lee County history too.
Beautiful and peaceful here.
And Lee County history too. Yes. This is a beautiful place. Hopefully, hopefully, that cemetery be as clean as this one. Yes. But anyway,
hopefully get it done soon.
Anyway, what do we say? Bye. God bless you, folks.